Well, been a while since I've streamed myself in Unity, hasn't it? The thing is, as much as I like playing games, which is what I've been doing lately, I like making them too. So I figured that without any school projects in the way and stuff to force me to work on Unity, it would probably be a good idea to just get on Unity anyways. And it's been bothering me that on my itch page, there's a game in there that I don't like quite as much as all the others. Don't get me wrong, I'm proud of what I managed to accomplish, especially considering that it was my first project in Unity, but it was my first project in Unity, and so there's a lot of stuff that I did back then that I didn't know how to do that now should be easy to fix and overall just make a whole better experience. So, before I begin working on it, I think it would be a good idea for me to show you what I'm working with. So, here it is. This is Bullet Heaven. The graphics are not made by me, they are made by somebody else. Name is Zera Zappa on Instagram. All with Z's. It's Zerazapa on Instagram. She made all the graphics for me and helped a lot when making the game as well. Uh, the idea of the theming is also hers. The idea is to make a little bullet hell game with just this heaven theme, right? Where it's like the idea is that you're like a normal angel and your opponent is one of these. Well, the idea was for it to be like sort of a biblically accurate angel sort of thing, because you know the meme and everything. So let me just show you what the game looked like right now. It's supposed to be a bit of a bullet hell, and it is quite difficult. So the idea is you just move around in a circle and you're always aiming towards the center where the enemy is. And then you press the shoot button, you start shooting these little things. And as you start taking life off of the angel at the center, it sort of starts going through different phases. So right now it's just shooting straight at me and just missing a lot. Also, those bullets are destructible, but you get a lot more out of your bullets if you touch them, because then they're not being consumed by the opponent's bullets, right? And so the idea is that you just continue to shoot and taking life away from the the angel until the camera zooms out and now you're in a different phase and his bullet pattern will change. There's a bunch of bullet patterns. I think it was something like 30, right? I don't think I'm going to show them all off right now because that would take too long. And the point is not to show off the game, but rather to work on it. As you can hear, it has no sound effects. There's absolutely no sound. That would be one thing that I would want to fix. The graphics for the bullets are not actually these. These were just the working graphics, the little yellow circles. They had another graphic, but I guess that one didn't get saved on the project, rather only on the final build. That's fine. I think I still have them flying around. Right now, the enemy just changed graphic. There's a bunch of problems with animations, just being not quite as responsive as they should be, because we didn't know how to work the animator in Unity back then. There's other issues with certain responsivenesses that I would like to fix. So that's the idea. We're going to try to see how many of those I can fix in probably 2 hours. There's a couple of things that I'm proud of with this project. There's different mechanics, right? So like right now, it just it's just shooting those yellow arrows, but you can see how it's capable of shooting them in different sizes and in different patterns, right? So that was something that I programmed and just made it so that I could do all that purely from the inspector, right? So here, this pattern, I think, is the one that introduces the first other type of arrow, which are these red ones that are indestructible. So the idea is in order to show you what they do, it's going to shoot this wall of arrow of bullets that is just impossible to go through unless you make yourself a path, and then it'll shoot red ones so that you can't do that, sort of, so that you get the idea, right? If you didn't realize that you could destroy bullets before, then you will realize that now, along with this new type that can't be destroyed, and so you know that you have to avoid them. There's other mechanics. There's arrows. There's zones that just are a warning for an attack that's coming. There's also bullets that are green that, when shot at, will heal the enemy. And there's also an invincible mode for the enemy where it will, what is it? Yeah, an invincible mode for the enemy where the only way to survive is to wait long enough until the enemy goes out of that mode so that you can start shooting it. So yeah, you can see the different patterns. So the first thing that I need to do is that, because this project was a couple of years ago, I kind of have to remind myself how this all works, because the truth is I don't remember at all. So I'm just gonna spend a while looking around and seeing what the code was, and off the bat I can see some errors popping out in the console, which is not good. So those are probably going to be fixed. They seem to be just tags not being defined. There's this instruction timer, no clue what that could possibly be for. Yeah, activate time. Yeah, it's using game object point find, which is not a great idea. It is. Let's see. It's Wait, he's doing this on update? That's very often. Yeah, a lot of this was just doing using ChatGPT to help me write the scripts. Just because we had 1 month to do it, and it was the first time I had ever programmed in C sharp, much less for Unity. So I was just like, yeah, let's just use ChatGPT and figure out what everything means as I go. So that's a lot of that is going to need to be fixed, because I can immediately tell using game object find on every update frame is not a good idea. I also didn't comment any of this shit, so this is going to take a while to realize what any of this means. Yeah, I have no idea what this does. So this is finding Francisco, then finding the live script within Francisco, then finding a player bullet, and if there's none, it's setting activate time. Oh, I know what it is. I know what this is. Yeah, this is the thing that makes. Yeah, this is the thing that makes this text appear, which is. Right, which text? Where is that text anyway? This is the thing that makes. Yeah, there's this transform text is transform. It's transform find text, so it's finding something that is called just text. So yeah, one of these. And it's enabling it probably. So it's not this. Uh oh god, look at all this shit. God damn. Okay. This is going to need a lot of reorganizing. Yeah, it's making this text appear, is what it's doing. Uh, so that's gonna need some fixing. Well, okay, let's just fix the easy stuff while we're at it, right? So, why do you need Francisco? Why do you need life? Yeah, this could be handled better. Okay, so let's see what else is there. We have this yeah, so we have this text. This should be all. We have Francisco, that's the name of this big guy, right? And this text that says you win, no, this text that just says how much, yeah, right. This shows how much health the opponent has. And really, it was just there for testing purposes. It doesn't actually show up in the game. It was just for me to see, to be able to see it when I was testing. Then it has all of these things. Ooh. Oh. So how do these work then? Right, so each of these represent a life range for the enemy. This is just to separate them. Um, all of these represent a life range for the enemy. So when the enemy is between 1 and 90 and -1 and -99 health, it's going to be shooting this pattern. And this pattern is defined by these scripts. And so the way that these scripts work, okay, so for one, it's lowest cone shooter. The way that these work is that X shots. Okay, so yeah. When they are active, they are going to spawn this game object that holds those scripts, right? And so right, so it's going to have this slowest cone shooter somewhere, which is right here. And this is right there, right? So that's the position, it's just right at the center. And it has, right, each of these is a child, right? So each of these, so it's this, and this. And yep. So it is shooting these cones, right? Um, each of these holds one bullet, right? We have also the cone target. It's just a game object that is right there that just tells these where to point, right? Or at least I assume. Right, but the shooter remains. So yeah, those just go away as the bullets leave the stage. This thing remains, and the way that this thing works is that it's okay. Ignore player means that it won't aim for the player, right? So as you can see right now, wherever the player is, there's always going to be one of the bullets that's heading straight for him, right? Then amount means the amount of cones that there are. So it's, as you can see, it's 3 cones of 3 bullets each. The angle offset means right, the angle offset is the one cone, because they're always going to be distributed equally along the circle, right? So like if it's 3 cones, they're going to be like forward, and then just dividing the entire circle in 3 equal parts is going to be pointed this direction, right? So they're going to be equally separated. The angle offset is whether the first one is going to be pointed straight at the player or slightly to the left or slightly to the right. Sometimes you want that in a pattern. The shot. Ooh, so okay, so each shot, right? So that is this. So each shot is different. Is a different prefab as well. And so this is the slowest cone, which is this prefab, and that defines, right. So it's which type of bullet, which scale for those bullets, how much it's going to curve, whether it's going to be symmetrical. So I assume whether it's going to shoot one to the other side as well. Okay, let's just change nothing but that and see how that changes. Like if I just change the symmetry, how does the... It doesn't seem to change. Okay, so what does that symmetry mean then? Um... Oh boy, okay, so we have that. The slowest cone shooter that has the slowest cone. The slowest cone has that symmetry thing. So what does that slowest cone mean then? Symmetry. Oh, it's about curvature. Right. So when the bullets curve, I can make it so they curve left or they curve right, and symmetry makes it so that they curve either towards or away from the center of the shot, but equally on both sides. So I can make it so that they spread or they close in on you rather than just all of them curving to one side. And then obviously the bullet that's straight towards the middle will just not curve at all. So that is for curvature. Okay, so I gotta keep that in mind. The angle spread is how large the first bullet and the last bullet are going to be from each other. Um, so there's going to be one bullet at the center, and then the bullet that's 40 that's to the left is going to be 45 degrees left, and that. So if I make this closer, say for example 10, then they're going to be packed a lot closer together. Yeah. Okay. So let's leave it at 45. Branches means how many bullets are going to be shot in this one spread. So if I say 20, there's going to be 20 fucking bullets in that same closed 45-degree space. Yep. Then bullet speed, right? That means how fast the bullets go. Delay. Delay. Delay? Okay, so that delays the entire shot then. It's gotta be. So then that will make it so that I can spawn all the shots at the same time, but that'll still have some of them delayed by a certain amount. I assume. On player distance would be... What would that be? What does that do? We have on player distance right here. What that does is over here. Wow, I have no idea what that means. Okay, let's see. So where is this? This is all shoot. So this is a thing that happened. Oh, Jesus Christ, why is this organized like shit? Because it's ChatGPT, that's why. Um, so yeah, we have a function that is called the shoot. Uh, this target. If you don't have a target, then set it to the player, right? That makes sense. Rotate the object to face the target. That makes it so that the shots happen. So yeah, this thing has to be rotated before the bullets are spawned, right? Uh, yeah, rotate it to face the target. We're going to assume that that does that. Then we have fire points, all the elements. Assign fire point to all the elements of the original transform. So you're creating a game object. You're assigning fire point to it. Then you are oh, so you're just starting with a completely empty rotation. That's what you're doing. But that's silly. Why would you do it like that? Okay, so then oh right, so this is the fire point, right? This is the individual target for each of the little bullets. So you're changing that to I assume. Right, yeah, you're using that for each bullet that you want to shoot, and you're using its position and its rotation to set the target of the bullet, the position of the bullet, and then you're going to move that. So you're going to rotate it by the prerequisite number of amount, which is what happens here. Okay, so all of this is just spawning a single bullet. And then, right, you're spawning the bullet, blah, 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 blah. What is this on player distance then? Uh, you're creating this jump forward thing and you're getting the component jump forward of the bullet. So the bullets have a script called jump forward then, which would be this. And what this does is, oh wow, this is a really inefficient way to do it. What? Wait, no. Wait, that's silly though. Why would you do it like that? Oh god, this is way more of a mess than I thought it was. Uh yeah, because what it's doing here is it's taking the rotation of the object and using it to calculate the direction and then moving the object in that direction. But it's doing that on start. So that means that what it's doing is it's spawning them away. It's spawning them in the center and then first frame moving them away from the center in the direction that they are. Why would you need to do that? What if I disable that? What happens? I gotta fix all those errors as well. What if I disable that? What happens if I do that? If I go to the bullets, so the right, so these should have that move forward script. What if I just do this? Okay, let's fix all those errors first before I check with that. So what I need is these tags to be defined. So I need an empty tag. Hold on, no, it's not move forward. Move forward is not the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah. Which one is it then? It is jump forward, wasn't it? That's what the script said. Okay, hold on. This is so confusing. God damn. Um, this is why you comment your code, everybody. Um, let's make this a bit smaller. Just I'm taking too much space on screen. Uh, right. So I'm looking for jump script, which is a jump forward type script, which the bullets don't actually have. New transform, sprite render, box collider, rigid body, move forward, enemy bullet, life trigger. They don't have that script. So where are you getting it from then? No, because it is like if it does equal null, it's just going to skip all that. So on what occasion does it not equal null? Who has it? Not the destruct. Is it the heal? Not the heal. Is it the immune? It's not the immune. Is it the player's bullet? It's not. Is it the Oh, these two. Oh. Oh, I know what that does, right? Because these are not actual normal bullets. They are just little areas of warning that appear behind the player, so they can't. So on spawning, they need to move forward at a certain amount of time. And what this variable tells it is whether they should move forward to the player's position Or, but why minus 1.5? Oh, that's so confusing. All this shit is so confusing. Okay, right. So, yeah. Because I want some of those areas of warning to spawn right underneath the player, or at least for their distance to be relative to the player's distance. And so, in order to do that, I do this. Which then means that okay. Right. So then, if I just checking this out, uh, say for example, I have this. I need to also make sure that that happens. No, that broke too. Why did that break? Okay. Um. Um. Yeah, this is all going to need to be changed. So I also have these boundaries that are just box colliders with rigid bodies, which they don't need. They really don't need to have rigid bodies. And then there's the main camera. The main camera is fine. There's this explosion effect that's just doesn't quite work. There's the angel, which is this guy. It also needs to have its animations fixed. Okay, let's just run a test, right? Let's just run a test to see if each of the faces works. Just baseline, right? So let's make the ranges a lot shorter. Actually, let's do that. So first of all, I have these scripts, and the way that these work is that they check the life of the parent object, and then they activate or deactivate certain game objects depending on whether the life is at a certain range or not. So I'm going to fix this so that it works with multiple, so that I don't have to have multiple instances of the same script running, and I can just do it, right? So let's just that's just an easy enough fix. So we are going to have a let's just skip all this code here so that we can reference it later if we need to. But right now we're going to change basically everything about how it works. So first of all, let's make a header. Hello, 1, 2, 3. Okay, just the microphone messed up for a bit. So first of all, here we're going to have a public reference to the live script that is going to be the live script within the game object. Then we're going to need an array of uh, every single game object that we want to activate and an array of every single trigger point. So yeah, so let's just public. But actually, I would want them to be paired properly, right? So in that case, I'm going to want my own data type that is going to be a pair of a game object and a trigger point. So that is going to be... We're not going to spend as long on this as some other scripting, other Unity projects that I've been. Partly because going through old code is exhausting, especially when it's not commented, and especially when it's from ChatGPT. So, so I gotta make sure that these 2 hours that I'm spending doing this actually count for something. Uh, is this where I have the thing? It's good enough. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna create my own data type here. It's going to be a citizen serializable is going to be a um range pair. Range pair? Does that even make sense? Uh, it's a game object, and the game object it's a number plus the game object that is activated when that number is reached. Let's just call it a range pair. It's whatever. So it's going to be a game object and it's going to be an int trigger point. All of this doesn't matter. It's going to be game object object an int, which is the trigger point, and then this point object equals trigger point, and then this point object, this point trigger point equals trigger point, and all this doesn't need to be that far forward, and all this doesn't need to be that far forward, so like this. Yep. And Is object, let's just be sure and call it obj. So this is trigger point like this, and this is object like this. This is trigger point like this, because they can't overlap, and I want them to be lowercase. Right, so what that should let me do is now I can have a array of those range pairs. So public range pair, and it is the faces, just faces. That's fine. And now, well, I don't need these variables anymore. And now, well, what's this float life used for? Yeah, that's bullshit. Whether I made it a float, it's always an int. That's dumb. Right. Now on the start, what it was doing is just getting the live script. I'm gonna assign it from the inspector, so I don't need this anymore. It can just be gone. On the update, it is checking that live and checking if it is okay. Yeah, I got it. So we're gonna need a we're gonna need an int that is, yeah, an int that is the currently active. Currently active, and it's going to start at 0, right? And so the idea is that we only need to check the trigger points that are after or before the currently active one. So every frame void update, you're going to check whether live script point live script point live has gone below the trigger point, right? And if it has, then you need to change to the next one, or if it has gone above the current one. So yeah, so if this number is smaller than faces point trigger point, yeah, if it's smaller, should it be smaller or smaller or equal? But if it's a trigger point, then it is the point at which the change is triggered. So it should be probably be smaller or equal, right? So if it is smaller or equal, then right, this is all an if. In that case, we want to activate. So let's create a new function for that, right? So void activate, and it's going to receive an int, and it's going to be the phase to activate, and we're just gonna do that, right? So if it is smaller than the current trigger point, then you want to activate the next phase. So currently active +1. Right, and the phases we're specifically checking for the right, we're specifically checking for the current phase. The current phase is trigger point. Currently active. So it's the point at which this phase becomes the next one. That's the trigger point. So then currently active +1. And you're also going to check if we have regressed to the previous phase because the enemy can recover health. So else if live script point live is larger than faces currently active -1 point trigger point. But here's the danger, because we may reach a phase that doesn't have a previous one, which is the first page. So in that case, I want to also check that that phase does indeed exist. So must be that, but provided that currently active is not equal to 0. And then you want to activate currently active -1. And so activate is going to just basically do that. So it's going to take that game object, take the, yeah, it's going to take the faces face to activate. Right. Right. So it's going to take the current one, the one that is currently active, and it's going to deactivate it. So faces currently active point set active false. And then it's going to take the one to activate, and it's going to set active to true. And then it's going to properly update which ones is the currently active. So currently active equals phase to activate. And then just from that we go back. So the thing to be sure of is that, yeah, if right, we also have to check that there is a next phase to activate, don't we? Actually, do we? I think we don't. Let's leave it like that for now. See if that works. I'm going to keep this, even though I don't think it's useful, but let's keep it just in case, because we know that that code works, right? So it's good to not completely get rid of it. And now, what that does is throw an error. Okay. Unranged pair does not contain the definition for set active. Right, because it is not that, it is the object within that. Right, okay, so now this script completely changes. Okay, the good thing about this is that this makes it so that now I only need one. So let's just remove all the rest. We're gonna take care of the prefab later. Okay, so now we get to, first of all, live script. Where's the live on this guy? It's just right there. Right, okay, so we can just, whoop, there you go. Now he knows where the live is. Phases. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So there's 28 different phases. So there's going to be 28, and each of these has, so the object to activate is this one, and the trigger point for when you activate the next one is 999 health. Then this one, the trigger point is 899 health. Then this one, and the trigger point is 799 health. Then 899, it all becomes very repetitive. Actually, yep, I'm 199, 699, then the next one is 599. Then like this, right? Then the point is 499, and 399, then 299, then 199, and 99, then -1, then -100, then -200. He goes into negative health because I ended up making way more faces than I thought I would. It should be -200, shouldn't it? Yep. Then -300. Then -400. Then no, I get it wrong. So this should be -300, -400, then -500, then -600, then -700, then -760 because I wanted that one to have a little bit less health. Then -860. Then -910. Then -970. Then -1030. Then cancel. Oh God, what did you do? -1030. Yep. -1030, which is right here. -1090. So tedious. Then -1150. Then -1200. Then -1251. Then this one basically is supposed to go forever, so let's say minus just 9,000. Now, does that even work? Really what it should do is just move me through the phases of the fight. So it should be that when I start taking health away from the enemy, it just kind of goes to the next phase. It would be nice to see the the health. Okay, so it works for the most part. Let's just do a couple more phases to see if it doesn't break then. Yeah, okay, it works fine. Okay, good. So now we get rid of that old, very bad code, don't we? Okay. Uh, Another thing that I want to fix just immediately is the animations of the player. So, I mean, look at all this, right? And this is completely bullshit because I just didn't know that you could have like, okay, look at this, right? So it has these variables that tell you where the player is moving, and it's using those to try to move towards the correct place. It's using this one to see where the player is pointing, but that is kind of silly because I could handle all of this through just way simpler means. So basically, instead of telling it where the player is moving, which, why is it even telling it that anyway? Are these used anywhere at all in any of these transitions? Target direction, target direction, target direction, target direction, idle, idle, dead, dead, idle, idle, dead, target direction, target, idle, idle, dead, 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 idle, idle, target direction, dead, dead. Yeah, this is wholly unnecessary because there's way simpler ways of doing that. So, um, who's got the target direction anyway? Who's feeding these variables? Also, direction X and Y are not even used, so let's just delete them immediately, right? Who's feeding target direction into the animator? Should be somewhere between the player, probably player movement. Yeah, and it's also getting the animator component from the start function, which I already don't like. What? We'll leave that for later. But the fact that you're giving it that means that you're definitely getting it. Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that anymore. Um yeah, all these target direction things we don't want. I think this is the code that Z did. She probably did it using ChatGPT because this looks it looks like ChatGPT code. Uh I mean no shade by that. I was using ChatGPT too. Uh Useful tool as a starting point. But that's the issue, right? As a starting point. Uh yeah, okay. We do want this. Let's just get rid of all that. So what you should be doing is running yeah, this is telling the animator when you're idle and when you're not idle. Then the movement is being normalized. Right, so that so that you don't move faster in the diagonals, you apply the velocity. For some reason we're using rigid bodies, even though the movement is extremely basic. Why is my facial tracking not tracking my mouth as much today? Probably just because of the angle of the camera, isn't it? Yeah, that's better. That's kinda better. What an amazing setup. Okay. I think this is better. Uh, let's see. Hmm. So why are you setting this based on speed? Hmm. Okay. So really what I want to do, right, is I want to handle all of this, but based on other stuff. So I do want to keep this explode, and I do want to keep the difference between the idle and the movement, but that's gonna be another thing. Down, left. Yep. This one shouldn't exist. This one shouldn't exist. This one shouldn't exist. This shouldn't exist. This is nothing. Oh no, hold on. I shouldn't be deleting those. Not right now, anyway. Yeah, okay. Let's just leave that like that for now. So I want this to work in a different way. So what I'm going to need is two floats that are going to be just X position and Y position, right? And so the idea is that these are going to range from -1 to 1. So yeah, -1 to +1. And so then I'm going to create a blend tree. And so this blend tree is going to have 4 animations. 4? 8. 8 animations. And this is going to be 2D, simple directional. Going to be X position and Y position. Those are the two parameters. Not a number. What do I mean not a number? New motion field, a new motion field. What do you mean not a number? It's Y position, it's a float. Make it 0 then. There you go, silly. Oh, okay, so these have to be from 0 to 1. That's fine. We can work with that. We can work with that. Actually, no, we can just. Okay, so that can be done. Okay. So then we are going to need a total of 8 animations. 8, yeah, probably 8. So motion field 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So then they're going to be 0, -1. And then this one's going to be 0 point. Right, right. What's the -1, -1? Sure. -1, -1. Then -1, 0. Then -1, 1. Then 0, 1. Then 1, 1. Then 0. Then 1, 0. And then 1, -1. Right? And so each of those are going to have a different motion. And this should be down. No, they should be up. Up. Then this one should be upright because it's where it's facing. So when it is below, it is facing up. This one should be upright. Up. Upright. And this one should be right. Right, 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 right. Actually, right. Then this one is down, right. Then this one is just down. Then this one is down left. Then this one is left. And then this one is up left. Right? And so now you have this. So now you have it where this guy, right? You can see right here in the preview, or as this guy moves around the field, it's going to be facing the correct way. And then all I have to do is make sure that I can feed those numbers to the animator. But I'm going to need a duplicate of this because this is for the walking animations, and I need one for the idle animations. Right? So then this is going to have the same thing, but instead we're going to change all these. So this is going to be, instead of up, it's going to be idle up. Instead of upright, it's going to be idle up right. Instead of right, it's going to be idle right. Instead of down right, it's going to be idle down right. Instead of down, it's going to be idle down. Instead of down left, it's going to be idle down left. Instead of left, it's going to be idle left. Instead of up left, it's going to be idle up left. Like that. And then now you have this, and it just works for the idle animations, which are not really animations, they're just a static sprite, but it works is the point. And for some reason, this one turned into, this should be 0 -1, right? So, yeah, so this is the idle animations, and this is the actual animations, so should be just as simple. It's this is the default state, and then you make a transition here and make a transition here, and no exit time because I want them to be pretty instantaneous, and I want it to be so that when idle falls, you go to walking. When idle true, you go to idle, and no exit time. That should make everything so much easier. So now we don't need, well, actually we still need this. We still need that explode. So how does it work? That explode, when dead equals true, it goes into explode. How does it go out of explode? When dead equals false. Okay, so then we do that. So when no exit time, when dead equals true, go out of explode. No, when dead equals false. When dead equals false, go out of explode. When dead equals true, go into explode. I mean, it's going to go into the idle, but if it goes into idle for 1 microsecond, it's not really a problem, especially since it shares animation frames with walking, so that's not really even visible. And then that allows me to get rid of just all of this. God, I just didn't know that blend trees existed. I thought that you had to do it that way. It's such a pain. It's so unnecessary. Like, look at this. It is so much prettier. Okay. So now, that's the blend trees. That's the animation tree happened, but the nodes, but I still am not feeding these numbers into this, so I have to make sure to do that. The numbers go from 0 to 1, so what I need to do is to translate the position of the player in the world to an animation, to numbers from 0 to from -1 to 1. It shouldn't be difficult. I'm going to put it into a different function, though, because I just kind of want to do that. So let's just have a function here that is uh actually, here's a thought. Let's make a new script that handles the animations, right? Yeah, let's do that. I think that would be better. It would make things neater. Um, let's create a script over here. It's going to be, yep, script. Create new C# script. It is player animations. And so it is going to, yeah, on update, it's going to need to use the transform. So it is going to, what are those set to anyway? Oh, that's fine. Okay. So I'm going to need to check those. So uh, it is going to need to know those maximums and minimums so that it can know which portion of the playing field the player is currently in. So we're going to need to, yeah. Going to need a reference to that. And then it's going to, should I have a copy of those values, or should it access them from there every time? Um, it should probably have a copy. It's not like the playfield changes at all. So, yeah, on start. Void, void, start. Let's have another header that is for variables. X size. No, actually, minimum and maximum values. So then equals move equal, yep. So the minimum x equals the move script min x, and then so on. So minimums y equals move script minimum y, maxes x equals move script max x, maxes y equals move script max y. And so we have now two vector 2s that tell us what the minimum point and what the maximum point is, and we can calculate where the player is according to that. So we also need a reference to the animator. So animator component, and so on update, we're gonna need a vector 2 normalized position, right? Yeah, let's call it norm position. This normalized position is going to be equal to, we're going to create a function for that. It's going to be equal to get norm position as a vector 2, right? So it's going to be get norm position of the, and the position that is going to be used is going to be the one, the current position of the transform. So transform point position. And then we're going to take the normalized position, we're going to send it to those variables of the animator that we set before. So we're going to need animator set float, animator set float, and the float's name is going to be x position and y position. So x position, it is, yep, like that. The number that we're going to set is the normalized position x value, and then the same for the y. So y position, y value. God, this is like untangling chords is what this is. Because really what I'm doing is just re-implementing the shit that was already there, but in not spaghetti code, right? Okay, so now I'm sending those two values. So now we need to create this function. So I have this void get normalized position from a position, which is a vector 2. So from a vector 2, I mean, this is technically a vector 3, so we have to send it converted as a vector 2, right? Position, let's call it pos. And so what we need to do is get the x value and the y value and see which proportion of the minimum and the maximum is. So like if it's right in the middle of the minimum and the maximum, it should send 0. If it's more than if it's closer to the maximum, it should send 1. If it's closer to the minimum, it should send -1. There's definitely a formula for that, but what would it be? Oh, it's proportion. It's direct proportion. So I want to find, yeah. I have 0 is, yeah. I have mins corresponds to -1, max corresponds to 1, to what does pause correspond? Basically, that is what I want to find. So this is a direct proportion. So that means that in order to get it, I should be able to multiply position times 1 and divide it by maximums, and that should give me it. Or multiply it by -1 and divide it by the minimum. No, hold on. Those calculations assume that 0 is to 0, right? Don't they? And this is not the case. Because 0 is not going to necessarily. 0 is the halfway point. How do you do that? There is a formula for that. There has to be. What do you call mathematically direct proportionality that is not centered at 0? But this is some basic ass maths that I'm just blanking on. Okay, there you go. There's the Wikipedia article. In mathematics, two sequences of numbers of the experimental data are proportional or directly proportional if their corresponding elements have a constant ratio. The ratio is called the coefficient of proportionality or proportionality constant. The reciprocal is known as the constant of normalization or normalization constant. Two sequences are inversely proportional if corresponding elements have a constant product, also called the coefficient of proportionality. This definition is commonly extended to related varying quantities, which are often called variables. The meaning of variable is not the common meaning with the term mathematics. These two different concepts share the same name for historical reasons. Two functions are proportional if the ratio is a constant function. If several pairs of variables share the same direct proportionality constant, the equation expressing the quality of these ratios is called a proportion. That is not helping at all, actually, because the graphs show everything pinned at 0. So actually, probably what I want is not a direct proportionality. Okay. So what I could do is make this into a direct proportionality, but just making sure that the middle point is 0, and then adding or subtracting the amount that I want. So the middle point between maximums and minimums is going to be, yeah, the middle point between maximums and minimums is going to be maximums plus minimums divided by 2, right? And let's see, right, if I have a minimum here and a maximum here, and I have 0 right here, so then I add this distance to that distance, right? So I get this whole distance and I divide it by 2. It's going to move the distance. Right, hold on. If the minimum is 2 and the maximum is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. 3 is right between 2 and 4. The minimum is -1, the maximum is 1. 0 plus -1 plus 1 is 0, divided by 2 is 0 still. Yeah, okay, so that works. So then, yeah, so I have the middle point, right? So let's get that. Let's means, yeah, a vector 2 that is middle point is going to be equal to mins plus maxes divided by 2. Can you divide a vector? Let's assume that you can. Actually, let's just multiply by 0.5 just in case, right? So then that's going to be, this vector is going to be the middle point, right? And so what I can do is take the current position, subtract from every value that middle point, right? So yeah, subtract from every value that middle point, and that basically makes it so that this middle point is now effectively the origin of our coordinate system. So plus minus equal middle point. And we're going to need another, yep. And then I only need one of them. So maxes, vector 2 new maxes equals maxes. Actually, let's call it relative maxes equals maxes minus that middle point, right? And so now I have max relative to the middle point and position relative to that middle point. And so the direct proportionality applies because now that middle point corresponds to 0. So I can just be like, if relative maxes corresponds to 1, what does position correspond to? So that is, this is to 1 as position is equal to what? So if I want to find the what, I have to multiply the position by the 1. So position multiplied by 1 is just position. It's just position divided by maxes. But except these are vectors, so I can just do that. Position x divided by maxes x equals, yeah, so we're going to need a new vector 2 that is the return vector. So vector 2 equals return vector, which is equal to a new vector 2. Actually, it's just vector 2, 0. Why not? Vector 2.0. So then, yeah, so this divided by this is going to be the return vector point x is going to be equal to that, and then return vector point y is going to be equal to pos y maxes point y. And if my math is correct, then that should make it so that we get a number that is relative to all that stuff. So return the return vector, and then we should be getting the correct number from this. And then we should be able to send it to the animator properly. That's all in theory anyways. Then let's also send make sure that we're sending these other values through the player animation script, just so that everything is more tidy. So we're gonna need a public bool idle, uh, animator set bool idle corresponding to the idle variable, and then the idle variable is going to be changed here. So we're going to need to get this component. So public player animations anim script, and so we can go to this animation script point idle, going to be equal the result of whether movement equals vector 2.0, like that. And then we can just get rid of all of this. This is being sent every frame, and then we're going to need to send another bool that is for the dead variable, and the dead variable is going to be, right now we're going to use this same logic, but later I want to change it because I'm not comfortable with the determining factor being whether the speed of the player is equal to 0. Why is my mouth tracking not working today? Every time I glance at the avatar, it just doesn't open its mouth. Like, is my lighting different? Is something the matter? I mean, it's not like the tracking was ever excellent, but it I think it should be able to tell that much. Am I being heard properly? Yes. 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 Okay. Uh, what the fuck was that? I just moved my computer a little bit and everything just suddenly died. Let's not do that. I think it's just the angle of the camera or something. I did move my computer. I mean, what else could it possibly be, right? Oh god, this is going to be annoying me all day today. The problem is that I can't fix it while I'm on stream. I mean, I could, but it's going to take a while. It's going to be an issue. So I guess we're gonna have to get used to the guy to the little to the avatar just not opening the mouth its mouth as much as it should. It's fine. It's fine. This is a really jerry rigged setup anyway. Okay, so I need to send this variable to the player animation so that it can be the one to send it to the animator. There you go. That should do it, right? And so then gotta wait for it to compile. Uh uh okay. Number 23 can implicitly compare void to vector2, right? Because this is supposed to return vector2. Okay, so the name animator does not exist. Player animations, because it's not called animator, it's called animation component. So it should be this. That seems to have worked. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. This is really starting to bother me now. I mean, that's as bothered as it can be to try to fix the issue today. I might have just made it worse, honestly. So let's just move on and try to continue just the coding. Uh, okay, so fixed all of the errors, so now we just need to hook up the things in the way that they should be. So the new script that I made is in here, but I don't know which one it is. Player animations, there it is. So the movement script is this. This needs to be aware of that. The admission component is this. Whether it's idle or dead, that's just set by itself. Okay, so that should have set up the parameters in the animator correctly. Yeah. Okay, that's so much better. I mean, actually, it works exactly the same. It looks exactly the same. But the thing that's better is this. Remember the mess that it was at the beginning? Yeah, it turns out you can reduce it to just this. Wish I had known that back then. Really, the only thing that matters is this, is the blend tree. That's the only thing that you need to know, right? Okay. So, having had that, uh are these boundaries doing anything? They're just box colliders with the tag boundary, but it seemed to me that the movement script was checking without them. So let's just get rid of them and see if that works. Let's see if my player gets out of the boundary. Yeah, no, they're just not necessary at all. Okay, so that's another unnecessary thing gone. What about the target? Does the player use that target at all? Uh, this aimer is shooting towards the target, so at least that's fine. Um, yeah. Okay, so what if can this just be made? Right, that's a thing. The player is killed. It takes some time before the explosion is triggered. Why is that? Oh, I see. That is easy to fix then. Or actually, rather, this state should be entered from any state. So then, if that is true, you enter no matter what the state, no exit time, and then you go back to idle. Okay, yes, however, it is triggering that entrance constantly. And so I needed to not do that. Can transition to self? No. So if you're already there, then don't try to force that transition again and therefore resetting the state every frame. Just let it happen. Excellent. Okay. again. So I think I've been working on this long enough. Uh, Even though I didn't actually make any changes to the way the stuff works, just tidying up the code and making everything work better is worth enough on its own. This is not something that is as urgent as the other projects that I had been working on. Actually, there's no really any due date, so I think making a little bit of progress each time is going to be good. Really, I just wanted to do this so that I could kind of test myself on um, doing two things in one stream, by which I mean that I'm going to be playing a game uh, in a bit. So let's look forward to that. Right now, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to be right back, and then you're going to see what game I am going to be playing. It is a game that I actually um, used to play when I was a kid. So it's going to be very nostalgic for me. I hope that it works. If not, I might just have to go back to Dynasty Warriors, which wouldn't be that bad, but you know. But yeah, that means I'm going to be right back.